Welcome back to the Red Dice Diaries, and this is a response to a roleplay tag video that I was tagged in by Same Old G in his latest season of videos. Sorry it's taken me a little bit of time to get round to actually answering it, but you know, real life shit and all that. The actual question that was asked was, what are 5 of your favourite roleplay memories? So you'll have to forgive me with this. I don't have the world's greatest memory, so it's taken me a little bit of time to think about it, to be honest. But I've narrowed it down to 5, and these are they. Number 1. Now, I only vaguely remember this. It's from one of the first Warhammer Fantasy roleplay games I ran. One of the players was playing a massively overweight dwarf mule skinner with an Indiana Jones style bullwhip. The ludicrous character sticks in my mind, although I've long forgotten his name, unfortunately. Now, at some point, the players were on a ship that got attacked by a large dark elf vessel. Heroically attempting to swing over the gap with his bullwhip, the large dwarf massively botched his roll and fell into the sea and had to be rescued. Now, this was a fairly simple thing, and yes, it's a little bit goofy, and when I think back on what I remember of the adventure now, it wasn't particularly brilliant. Like I say, it was one of the first games I ran, but that moment where everyone around the table actually really started enjoying it, everyone had a chuckle about the unfortunate dwarf and fished him out. There was a lot of teamwork there was a lot of good humour, and it led to a really enjoyable session. It's one that still sticks in my mind, at least to a certain extent, all these years later. So, moving on to number 2. Now, during a Warhammer Fantasy roleplay game, again, Warhammer Fantasy roleplay, that Sean Connors ran, I think it's probably a year or 2 ago now, at one point my Troll Slayer Grindel and Matthew's character Giselle found ourselves in the sewers after a long slog through the filth-encrusted sewers of an Imperial town. And we found ourselves in this stony area that had been used for evil demon summoning rituals. As a demon began to coalesce in front of us out of smoke, Grindel, sure that he was about to die but ready to give it his all as a troll slayer, pushed Giselle aside, hoping that at least one of them would survive, only for Matthew's character Giselle suddenly to pull out this rifle that we confiscated from someone else, aim it, and with a ridiculously good roll, just one-shot this lesser demon, and that was it. After many unfortunate incidents all the way through the sewers where he'd been falling into the sewage, getting lost, and having to have Grindel, this gruff dwarven troll slayer, pull him out, the final victory over this demonic entity just came down to Giselle pulling out this rifle, and boom. Totally surprising, again resulting in a lot of good humour, and it really sticks in my mind as just one of the bizarre things that can happen during roleplay games. Now, number 3, my next memory is from the same game. Unfortunately, I had missed a session where the party was attempting to stop a demonic apocalypse raining down on this Imperial town, and a vast demonic horde had been unleashed. Now, thinking quickly, Sean had concocted an icy rationale for Grindel being missing, and that was that he'd contracted sewer pox in the previous session. Like I say, good quick thinking on behalf of Sean there, and I'd been laid up on my friend's barge that we'd been using as transport. When my character came round the session after, we were all sailing away downriver, away from the town. The other player characters having realised, quite rightfully, that there was no hope of saving it. Now, being a troll slayer and sworn to seek death against the mightiest foe possible, my character slipped off the boat while the other PCs were asleep, exchanging a few words with the owner of the barge, who was a childhood friend of his, before leaving and heading back towards the town on foot and certain death on his own. Grindel's last conversation with his friend and the events surrounding that are one of my all-time favourite RPG memories. It was a very touching scene, quite unlike most of the sort of blustering that the Troll Slayer used to do, and he displayed a lot of fondness for his companions that perhaps he'd kept bottled up at other times, and then disappeared off into the distance, never to be seen again. And it was a great scene, excellently role played by Sean, really enjoyed it myself, and it really was an excellent end to that character. Now, as we move into number 4, as you might have gathered, I'm a bit of a sucker for dramatic character deaths. Probably has something to do with the amount of times I die, explode, transform part of my brains into improvised detonators, I shit you not, and other such things in games. So my next favourite RPG memory is from my Jadepunk game. The players had been hunting down a creature created through infusing a dead body with a mixture of black and blue jade, creating a sort of revenant or a vampire, if you will. They'd realised, to their horror, that the vampire in question was actually the childhood friend of Yuto, which was a character played by the TheRogueDM. And Yuto believed that this childhood friend had been killed by his father. The blue jade, however, that was powering this vampire had slowly started to eat away at Shizu's mind. And when the two friends faced each other on top of a warehouse, Yuto, knowing that there was a red jade bomb about to explode imminently in the warehouse that would engulf the entire place, chose to embrace his old friend, and the two of them were consumed in fire. Yuto getting a brief last glimpse of the one memory that Shizu had held on to as her mind had decayed. The memory of the two of them together when they were younger in happier times. And then the explosion went off and the two were engulfed in flames. And that to me really seemed like it was a very poignant, very emotional scene, which was the culmination of a personal plot thread for Jenny's character. And it really was a great fitting end to that character. And even today, much later, with that campaign still going on, the repercussions of that event are still being felt, and characters have remarked on it and look back to that period, which I think is the mark of a great scene, when people still remember it, still talk fondly about it, OOC or IC, much further down the line. So number 5, my final favourite roleplay memory is attending the UK Games Expo 2015 for the first time. Now, I've not got really much experience of conventions, so I didn't really know what to expect, but I had a great time. It was amazing to see so many people all there to enjoy the hobby. Also great to game and chat with people like Rhagar, TheRogueDM and Sean Connors, who I've gamed with online. Brilliant to meet them in person. I'm really looking forward to the 2016 Expo, and before then I've actually booked to run my first 2 convention games at the online convention, BrigadeCon 2015. Come on, you didn't expect me to do an entire video without getting a plug-in for it somewhere, and I'll put a link if you want to know more about the games I'm going to be running for that in the description below. And as is the tradition with these videos, I'm going to tag another 5 people in it. Now I'm going to tag Rhagar the Dragonborn, since I loved his videos for the RPG a day, so I think it's about time he got some more stuff up there. I'm also going to tag the TheRogueDM, since they're both part of my online group. I'm going to tag Mr. Dresden Files himself, John Drury, and for my 4th and 5th, I'm going to cheat slightly, and I'm going to tag Guildmaster Dan and Guildmaus. I'd love to see both their perspectives and their 5 favourite RP moments. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you did, you'll give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel by clicking on the red dice up there. If you have any comments, as always, bring them down below. Or better yet, let me know what your favourite 5 RP moments are. Until I see you next time, take care and happy gaming.